Hey guys, it's Mrs D. It's going to get so hard for me to make these videos, but I had to fit one in because I'm all caught up on The Mandalorian. There's so many feelings. Theories. And I have to do The Mandalorian Theories with this weird kind of presence. Like, I didn't watch Rebels or Clone Wars. I missed them. And I know vaguely what happens because I'm so into Star Wars in most capacities that, like, I've looked up most of the major storylines and I've looked up the characters, and, like, I knew who Ahsoka Tano was long before they started name dropping her in Mandalorian. I knew a little bit about the Mandalorians long before the Mandalorian. But I'm a little conflicted. One, it was cool for Disney to do something with Star Wars that didn't require all of your focus and knowledge having been concentrated on the earlier trilogies, the prequels, or the latest stuff. Because The Mandalorian sandwiched between, Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. A little sandwich. And that was nice because we all kind of want to pretend that the newest trilogy didn't occur. At the same time, that, like, there's definitely moments of the prequels, the prequel trilogies, that were weak. They didn't need to be 3 movies. There was some really strange choices being made. Some of it probably just a result of technology at the time. But I don't appreciate having to watch those movies more than once every 5 or 6 years. So, like, I've watched them. I've watched the movies in all the combinations you could watch them in. I've watched the original 3, then the prequels, then the newest 3. I've watched them in chronological order, except for the fact that I've only watched the newest Last Jedi. I've watched once. I won't watch it again. Same thing with Rise of Skywalker. I'm good. I was disappointed enough the first time to last me. But with The Mandalorian, amazing writing. Up there and on par with Rogue One. I mean, I like the formulaic structure of it. It's very old school Western, Sorry, had to let the dog out. So I appreciated that Mandalorian was doing these sort of formulaic episodes. It's very old Western, like, as people have said, like, I'm not original, the lone wolf and cub attitude. It's very Skyrim. It's very, like, we have a central quest, but at the same time that we have a central quest, here's a side mission. Hey, I know you're trying to do this thing that you said you were going to do. At the same time, do you want to liberate this small town? That's wonderful and all. I think that's cool. It kind of reminds me of, like, Serenity and Firefly, which I really liked. More on them later. Another episode, maybe. I really like the predictability of formulaic episodes. I like that every episode we're going to go to a new planet. We're going to go to some planets that we've already been to because you have to return to, like, your typical cast of characters. I like that the Razor Crest is just, as the internet has suggested, like a 95 Honda Civic that keeps breaking down. Like, it gives us something to do, somewhere to stop, some reason to be somewhere. I'm into it. I like the tension between him as a child of the Watch, Death Watch, Mandalorian, versus, like, the actual Mandalorians under Bo-Katan and Clan Kryze. So I'm into all that. I like the formulaicness of it. In terms of what they dropped, first of all, Dave Filoni, as a nerd, I appreciate so much what this guy did. He was the creator on Rebels and Clone Wars, and he developed, drew, and, like, took Ahsoka Tano through her whole life and then got to do the live action episode. I think this man's probably so happy right now. I didn't mind her physical representation. I know the internet was very divided on, like, the length of her Leiku and stuff like that, whatevs. There's some definite physical problems with having something too large and heavy for a live action representation of her. Like, if you want her to fight and fight well, you have to take into consideration that there's going to be limitations. And the fighting sequences I thought were great. We got the double lightsabers, we got the white saber, we got the specific backhanded style that she always had, which even if you're, like, a casual Star Wars observer, you knew that was fairly important. We got the reference to Anakin, which was pretty good. Oddly enough, though, I guess she's not involved in the hiding of the Skywalker twins. Because time-wise, I mean, Luke and Leia are out in the public right now. It's the fall of the Empire. We're five years after the fall of the Empire in Mandalorian, so like Luke's out as like the Jedi. We're not doing that, I guess. I'm not mad if they don't. I would kind of like an explanation as to why they don't, but I'm good if they don't. For the reason being, Mandalorian as its own thing was really cool. It was awesome having this own pocket of the Star Wars universe that was well developed and interesting and gave me all the feels that I wanted, but didn't feel like it was divorced from Star Wars. I think in some ways, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker tried way too hard to be like, we're not doing any of the old Star Wars stuff anymore. It's like, I want the old Star Wars stuff. I want it. It also felt like Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi didn't understand the very kind of innate concepts of the Force. And we don't have that really too much at play in Mandalorian. You have Star Wars without Jedi, which is kind of cool. Like Ashoka Tano was the first one we saw. And Baby Yoda, Grogu, I like it. I think it's fun. He has the powers of the Force, but he's a baby, and he's not playing the wise old Yoda gremlin card. And it's fun. It's fun that we have to develop him and try to figure out what he does. The only thing that I see is like kind of a sad plot point that we're eventually going to have to address is he's 50 years old now, which vaguely puts him in the timeline that it's been 20 or so years since Anakin decimated during Order 66, killed all the... Order 66 was the clones. Anakin purged all the young ones from the Jedi Temple. And more or less, they said, this little guy escaped the Jedi Temple, was secreted away from the Jedi Temple, and Anakin didn't kill him. So he remembers Anakin Skywalker, and he remembers the slaughter of the Temple, which is traumatizing. But also, many Jedi Masters have raised him, so he's a little guy, and he outlives everyone that takes care of him. And it's likely that in the next 20 years, which is the time span of the prequel movies, not the prequels, the terrible new trilogy that we pretend doesn't exist. So 20 years would take us pretty much through the course of those, because that'll age out Ben Solo. So he's going to outlive the Mandalorian, and then he's going to outlive that trilogy, and then what? He's going to be like a little kid after that trilogy to propel forth a whole new thing, unless we can find some way to like catalytically develop him, make him much bigger and much more developed and much more complex and much older, more mature in a very short period of time. Who knows, maybe that species of alien does that. The great thing about them being so rare is that Favreau can kind of go, here's a fun fact about them. They overnight age 70 years for no apparent reason, just because we need a season 4. Because season 3's already been greenlit. You have the Darksaber. You have a Beskar spear, which means that the Mandalorian can fight Moff Gideon with the Darksaber and take essentially no saber damage, because he is the full Beskar cuirass and the Beskar weapon now. So there's some interesting stuff going on there. I'm going to propose a couple theories now, with the caveat that I have not had a very intricate viewing of Clone Wars and Rebels. So if you have, please let me know. Let me know where I am wrong or misguided or missing stuff based on that, because I don't have the idiosyncrasies. I know that we can expect, because they dropped Grand Admiral Thrawn, we can expect Ezra Bridger. And I know we can expect, therefore, some time travel. So here's some ideas. 1, Pocket Universe. They haven't dropped enough. Honestly, they've dropped very minimal details. The Empire fell. There was the purging of the Jedi Temple. Ashoka Tano kind of referenced vaguely Anakin, but very vague. We don't know if this could be a pocket universe that Ezra's visited, where many things are the same, but some things are different. So this could very well be a different timeline entirely. Or Ezra could take us to a different timeline. Very Avengers, like very, where are we going now? We have an issue with time and consistency. What happened to Sabine? What happened to her nephew, Corky, who may or may not be Obi-Wan's illegitimate child? No. No, I don't want it. It's probably pretty obvious in Rebels, but I don't want it. It's not what my Obi-Wan does. Anyway, you have potentially here the playing with timelines, where we could secret the child away to another time, let him grow up, and bring him back. You could have an issue where the child is directly related to Snoke. Please don't. But you could. I'm hoping no. But maybe we just let the kid be a kid. Maybe he doesn't become a bigger part of the universe. Maybe that's the cool thing. I would like that. But what I think is kind of interesting is the Darksaber's whole origin story has to do with the first Jedi Mandalorian having the Darksaber, and then that goes down to the leader of the clan, the Mandalore. And Bo-Katan's clearly aiming for it. Her sister Sabine had it, and then lost it, and then Bo-Katan had it and lost it. Everyone's having it and losing it. It's just like this little, item that we keep losing track of. But while they have an obvious setup here for Bo-Katan wanting the Darksaber, I mean, are we going to overlook the fact that it would be very cool for Din Djarin to get it? Like, he has to come over the fact that he was raised by the Death Watch. He has to look at the rest of Mandalorian culture. He has to decide what he likes and dislikes about it. He has to decide whether or not he's participating. Then he, as like the best among us, could be the one with a Beskar, full cuirass, and spear fighting Moff Gideon, potentially next to Bo-Katan, and then getting the Darksaber and becoming the Mandalore himself and kind of repurposing the Mandalorians to protect the child, to protect Goku and let him be raised among the Mandalorians. They're very into adoption. I like that idea. I like the idea of like the real focus is him becoming the Mandalore and the Mandalorian shifting politically, and then you could do stuff with them later. Another thing that I think is kind of potentially interesting is the question of the child. So they say the child hid his powers. Sorry, puppy. So you have Yoda, baby Yoda, Grogu. You have Ahsoka Tano saying he learned to hide. He learned to not use the Force to keep himself safe. Get that. And there's, the internet divides on everything. And one of the divided things is like how much knowledge and how much maturity does this baby character have? Like how much motivation does a toddler character really have? Like they have simple minds. Anyway, assume that he does know and can sense, because he is highly Force sensitive, the basic motivations of other people. So he can look at people and kind of go, nope, not safe, not a nice person, danger, and hide as well as he can hide. He has shown us trust in some characters. I hold the theory that their old pal, the leader of the guild, Carl Weathers, I think he actually betrayed them, so I think that the child's faith in him is a little misplaced. But the child, within a few minutes of meeting the Mandalorian, tries to heal him. And obviously the Mudhorn becoming their clan sigil. He raises the Mudhorn fairly soon after seeing him, and he blocks off the flamethrower. I mean, he's throwing out the powers in front of the Mandalorian out of a deep sense of trust. And I'm gonna pose the maybe weird question here, because I just said I liked that we had something that didn't have a lot of Jedi, right? We didn't have a lot of the Force in here. I liked that. You had old school space western, and it was amazing. What if Din Djarin is Force sensitive, though? You can have people who are Force sensitive, even to a great degree. Like Leia Organa is meant to be fairly high levels of Force sensitivity, like her brother. I mean, they're twins, and she has the same kind of levels that he does, but she's raised not knowing them, and she never really does much with them. So they kind of remain latent. Like even Luke, in his learning how to sense people, doesn't really sense her. And she only responds to him when he responds to her. Now, there's a lot more on that in the expanded universe, but obviously that's not canon Disney. You could have someone who is Force sensitive and not Skywalker level sensitive. You could have someone who's just kind of your middle of the road Force user. Din Djarin could be a fairly low level sensitivity Force user who never knew about it, doesn't know what it is, and it's just kind of sitting in there. He is the best bounty hunter in the parsec. He's incredibly fast, has amazing reflexes. This is a Jedi trait, fast reflexes. He's really good on learning languages, which could potentially, one, it's a Mandalorian trait, but two, if you have the ability to sort of sense what's happening in a given interchange, because you can kind of sense what people are thinking, that might help you learn language. But also, he seems to know there's something special about the child when he has no reason to think that. What other indication could it be than just it's a cute kid? Why would we think that that matters to him? What if he sensed that Yoda was strong with Baby Yoda, Grogu was strong with the Force, and sensed that this was something that needed protection in a way that he didn't fully understand? And what if that's why Grogu trusts him, because he sensed the Force in him? What if we have a Force user in Din Djarin, so we're going to have our second Mandalore, the true owner of the Darksaber then? It would, by rights, go to him. It would belong to him. And it would do something to resolve the tension between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. Because really, in the face of the Empire, shouldn't they have, united? I mean, in the face of the First Order, shouldn't they have united? Why wasn't this touched upon? But I would be happy if they just erased those 3 movies and never let them happen. That would be great. Pocket universe. Ezra, erase it all. I could use more if you guys are knowledgeable on it. I could use more information on Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm pretty much looking at Thrawn as like a Moriarty character. Strategy, intelligence, the man behind the puppets. So if you know more, give me more. Give me your theories and your excitement. Here is mine. I am excited for this thing every Friday. I'm here for it. Every Friday I'm here for it. Have a great day, guys.